Thanks for joining me today. I'm so excited to show you my finished quilt of my Maverick the Fox, and I'm really blessed that you have decided to join me and continue your quilting journey with me. And I have so much to teach you and show you, so let's jump in and get started. Thank you from all the cold places in the U.S. and around the world, because I'm feeling it today. I saw somebody from Oklahoma. They're very icy and cold. Well, it's cold here. I want to snuggle up in the blanket and go to sleep. So let's jump in and get started, because I have a lot to show you. And I just wanted to talk to you about the instructions and where to find them for Maverick. We've made a few little tweaks and changes, so if you're joining me and I haven't emailed you the instructions, that's why. And so I promise now that I've got them down, and I just wanted to talk to you about the easiest way to put the fox together and then let you go from there. Hey, before we do that, let me show you what some others have done with the cute little pattern and what they've been working on. I have one customer, Robin, who sent me the before and the after, and she just said she needs to pick out a border for it, but look how cute. She did a little orange fox, and she did calico prints, and if you look at them really close, they're little camping prints, so they have little mountains and little animals on them. Just a lot of fun. Thank you, Robin, for joining us, and I put Minky on the back of mine too. So, and then we have another one from off of and this is Gloria. Thank you, Gloria, for sending us your adorable quilt. And she's actually gotten hers quilted, and she got hers done before I did. So way to go. Kudos. Hats off to you. And she did it with her Unique 21, and it's just so cute and so sweet. So have fun with the pattern. And here's one from Tammy, and she has done, I think it's like a t-shirt quilt, and wow, what a nice job. Thank you for sharing, and look at all the little blocks that she's cut out in great detail, and the writing in it. Wow, a lot of work, and thank you for sharing that with us. And so, and then here is one of the prettiest and most organized quilting rooms. This is by Joanne Freeman. She is, wow, I'm very impressed, and I need your help. So thank you for sharing us your organized, clean, and kept up sewing room. Mine's all over the house. So that was a lot of fun, and continue to email. If you can't share them on the Instagram or Facebook pages, please email me, and you're not comfortable with it. It's Karla with a K, Karla @graceframe.com. Let me show you where to find the instructions. A lot of you are having a hard time finding the instructions, so let's pull up the website and show you where to find them. And so you just go to graceframe.com, and you'll see our beautiful new frame up there, and you'll go up to the events platform. You'll click on that, and you'll find Tuesdays with Grace, and then you'll just go and click on the event that you want to see right up there at the top. Upcoming events, click on that, Tuesdays with Grace, and the Maverick Quilt Part 1, and then go down, scroll down, and you'll find your downloads for the instructions. And we have a few downloads. We have the design downloads, and we also have the pattern. So let me go through the pattern really quick. Cute little Amanda, she printed it off for me. I just wanted to talk to you about how I put it together in the easiest way. And I found some different things, and so we've added them to the instructions. So as you go through your instructions, we are giving your materials list and things like that. That's something that we've just added. So if you have an older set, you may want to print off those separate pages. And then if you'll see that we're going through the pages, just sew it together. And when she says stitch and flip, she means to flip it upside down and sew across it. So you'll figure that out, and it'll make it really quite easy. Just go through them. But the only thing I wanted to talk to you about is when you're piecing the head together, you're going to sew them in a certain order, and then you're going to sew these other little pieces on them, and you're going to cut it to size. So I just wanted to, which direction? This direction. All right, I'll put it right here. There we go. So I'll pull it back just a little bit. Okay, so it's a little better so you can see it. And so what you're going to do is you're going to sew all of these pieces together, and then you're going to sew this piece together, okay? And then you're going to sew the two together just like the instructions show you, just like this page here, right there, just like that page. There we go. And that's how you'll sew it together. So rather than these being down, you'll lift them up and you'll put them up on top of the blue and sew across that edge and that edge. That was the only little thing, and I think that wasn't really quite as clear as it needed to be. And then there was one more thing on the tail that I wanted to point out that I learned that I felt like was really important, and that was not using a template and just cutting out a 10 by 10 inch block for this piece right here on the tail. And so that will make that much easier. Everything goes together really nice. I've done this about 4 times now, and it really went together. Very simple, very easy, and it probably would take you, probably after you get everything all cut out, maybe just 20 minutes to sew up the fox itself, and then adding the strips to it. So you can have this done really quite quickly. I like the little strips that we added to it. I think it makes a fun, simple little baby quilt that highlights the fox. So you do you and make it your style and how you want to do it. I just want to see you make the pattern. It's kind of pulling those little extra things out of you that you need to kind of grow as a quilter. Figuring out instructions is one of my favorite things to do. So yeah, join and do it. And I want to see it, and so make sure that you're emailing us or you're using the hashtag on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram. It's Facebook and Instagram, not Twitter, is it? Or is it Twitter too? Okay, so let's do post questions on Facebook and Instagram. So it's not Twitter. You go at Grace Company Quilting, and then you're going to type in the hashtag and use TWG January to share your progress, and then you're going to do hashtag TWGQA to ask questions, and we really want to encourage you to ask lots of questions. Okay, so that being said, let's jump in and talk to you about how I quilted the quilt. I'm going to hold it up so that you can see what I did and how I quilted it. So isn't that fun? He's done. And let me turn him over. I'll show you. I used minky on the back, and you can see the designs. Now I haven't gotten all the threads cut off, so don't be too picky when you're looking at it. But that's really fun. It turned out pretty cute. And the reason I used this style of minky, it reminded me of fox fur or cat fur or whatever, and petting it, and I thought it'd be really soft and very comfortable for a little baby Maverick. And notice that I did a lot of free motion. I feel like this was one of those quilts that I was able to do a lot of free motion. And my chair's stuck, so okay. There we go. And I wanted to talk to you about what I did. So one thing I did is I practiced my stitching in the ditch without the Wonderfoot. I feel like practicing on quilts that you can helps you gain more control as you're quilting. And so I really encourage you to try new ways to quilt and not use a lot of aids, because it really does help you learn better control and movements as you're quilting. Now, some things I would change: I probably wouldn't use a double layer of batting. I did because I wanted to look kind of fluffy and sweet and lofty is what I wanted it to look like. I think one layer with the minky would have been sufficed just fine. And with the minky, it has some minkies. I'm not going to say all of them. It has a little stretch and a little give. So as you're rolling it, if you roll it too much, you can get a little puckery. And notice it is a little puckery, but it's going to be okay for a little baby, and they're going to snuggle under it, and it's going to be washed and loved, and so that's just fine with me. I'm not going to go back and undo anything because I'm really happy with how it turned out. And now I worked on a border. Let me start with the border and how I came up with it, okay? So we're going to start up here on the border. And a reason I did circles instead of, I was thinking foxtails to start with. So I was going to come up to a point and come back down and fill it in with little swirls. I just didn't like it in the border. So I changed it to be just circles, and they're up, downs, and I did 3 little loops in it, and it made it really quick and easy going across. The only thing you have to remember, there's one that's going the same direction as a cup, and I'm not even going to tell you what side because it doesn't matter. You know, there are little things like that that I wouldn't go and unpick because I'd have to unpick the whole side to make it work out evenly, and it's just not that important. If we're going to be that picky on things at times, we shouldn't be quilting sometimes because nothing's ever going to be totally perfect until we ourselves are perfect. So let me talk to you about the star and how I quilted the star. I did a figure 8 design, and I probably wouldn't do that again. I think it gives it too much texture, but you know, you do you, I did me. And I did this little circle in here to kind of mimic what I did in the border. So I kind of carrying it along, and I did these on the outside. So I made them point to the outside rather than coming into the inside because it worked better with my triangles. So that's how I did the star. Now I wanted to talk to you about the star on the pattern. There's 2 different angles that you're working with on the star and sewing pieces to it. So let's talk about, we have the it's kind of a wonky diamond shape. It's not an exact diamond. So you have a long side and you have a short side that you're sewing to. So you're sewing the white triangle using the short edge, see right there, and you're sewing the gray triangle on the long edge of the triangles. And that will really help you sew this star together. It will come together really quick and really easy, okay, so on that. And just watch that because that can be a little tricky. And you have a right and a left side, so make sure that you're mirroring each other. If you're using a print, you'll really want to be careful on your left and your right because on prints you have a right side to the fabric and a wrong side to the fabric. So make sure that you're doing a left and a right side. On the solids, it doesn't matter because you can flip it either way. So on those prints, if you're using the prints, just be really careful. All right, let's talk about, here's my little Maverick right here. Oh, a question, good. We like questions. What fabric will you be binding? I'm going to do it in this minky. This minky fabric, I'm going to go all the way around it and then sew around it, and that way I can just use my sewing machine all the way around. Good question. Is the minky fabric easy to use? Yes. Some of it's easier than others. It just makes it a little heavier and a little more dense as you're sewing, and some give it a little more stretch. So I probably pulled this a little tighter than I should have as I was rolling it. I probably shouldn't have rolled it quite as tight as I did, but I have a lot to learn as well. So learn from me. If your minky has a little more stretch and a little more give, to really try to work with not rolling your fabric quite so tight. Me doing that caused a little more puckering right here on the strips going across, and so just beware of that. Now there are some minkies that have a nice backing to it and it doesn't have much stretch or give. Those you can probably pull a little bit more and they're not going to make it pucker quite so much. So just beware of the stretching on the minky. I think it'll be really fun, and we'll take a picture of the totally finished project so that you can see what I've done and how I bound it. Okay, let's talk about, okay, here's my little Maverick that I used Quilt CAD and pattern CAD right here, and I marked all the way around it and made it one continuous line, and I sewed it all out. I thought that as I was sewing it out, it wouldn't fold over and it did in places, but as I took it off, you can't even tell. Okay, so let's talk about little Foxy here. Little Maverick Fox, and what I did to give it texture. It was really fun to do, and I really encourage you not to use the automation all the time, and try the free motion quilting and try different designs. That's what made it so fun. I was able to jump in and try new things and new designs that I wasn't really comfortable with, but boy, it turned out so much fun. So up here at the top, I did his little forehead up here between his ears. This is really not his forehead, but just like I did for the stars, because I was continuing on. So I was keeping in mind kind of my theme, and I wanted textures. So in his ears, I used the smoky quartz gray, and I did spirals, because I wanted his ears to look different than I wanted his face and his fur. And now going to his face, I thought, well, let's play with a little bit more textures and little wavy lines. And so his forehead here is a different color altogether. So I kind of stayed with the colors, using each color as a different filler or texture. And this one's kind of the wavy up, down, and then on the sides, notice how I came in to kind of point towards his nose. So it's kind of angling in, so that's where your eye's going to be drawn to as I was quilting. And this right here was really fun because it kind of reminds me of the fur, and it's slicking back. So I just kind of did waves coming into points, going back and forth. With his eyes, I wasn't going to do anything in his eyes, and then Madison and I talked about it, and we thought we should probably do the spirals. So I went and did the spirals, but notice I left his eyes and his nose not even touched, because they're small enough that they pop, and that's what we wanted. And I did the eyes with the spiral, and also this little front chest. His chest hairs are spirals. And Madison's over there laughing at me. But anyway, his chest hairs and his side hairs. And notice that I went in and I really had a lot of fun doing this design here. And I did the same kind of wavy design on his legs and his tail. And notice that all the white are spirals, and all the medium blues are kind of the waves, and then, no, that's the darker blue. We'll call that the darker blue, and then the medium blue is the coming into a point, kind of like little fire, flames coming up. So that was so much fun, and I really encourage you to try it, draw it out, figure out what you want to do, then be brave, go to the machine, and just have fun, let loose. And I think the reason it turned out so well is I was really relaxed as I was doing, and I had a lot of confidence in my abilities. And I know that we're not all at the same stage, but I just really encourage you to try something new. Don't do the same thing over and over and over again. It's really important to grow as a quilter, so try something that's a little harder for you to do and work outside that box. Okay, well, anyway, that's the quilt, and it was a lot of fun, and I hope that all of you will really try it and work on it. Let's talk about threads really quick, and then I'm going to go to questions. I used white. The white was the only color that I really changed, and I was thinking I might use this blue all over it. But then I started using the gray that I was using on the gray parts, and I just thought, hey, it matches. So this smoky quartz, I dig it, man, because it almost kind of makes the colors, it absorbs the colors, and it just really gives it that little wow factor, and it kind of looks like little fur and stuff. So I didn't even change it, only these two. I did the white, and then the smoky quartz is everything else. And so just be careful with your threads. There was a question out there about that she was using our finesse threads, and it seemed to be breaking, especially the variegated. Try a size 18 needle. We started out saying that the 50 weight thread needed a size 16 needle. Actually, we found that our finesse thread really works so much better with a size 18. It has a little more stretch and a little more give. Now, the solids are really good, solid threads. They don't have any more dyes with them. The variegateds, I don't care what company you purchase it from, they have a tendency, because they have different inks going through them, tendency to break maybe a little easier. And so going to a larger size needle, if you're having some thread breakage, will really help you. And now you might want to change your stitches per inch as well, and maybe make it a little longer stitch so there's not quite as much pull and tug. And threads can be really particular at times, and other times, man, you can find that one that works really well. So I love the variegateds too. I use them all the time. So don't be afraid to try the variegateds. Don't be afraid to try something different on your quilt. Try it out before you start quilting on your quilt on a little piece of fabric on the edge. So always have a little scrap that you're using on your quilt so you can see what it turns out like before you jump in and go hog wild and then stand back and say, oh my gosh, why did I use that color? No, don't do that, okay? So any other questions that anybody has? Oh, good. Okay, so what are the advantages of traditional piecing versus paper piecing for the fox? There really isn't. You can use either or. I was just finding that it was easier for me on some of the parts to make it line up a little better than, and I sometimes on the paper piecing I get a little tired of flipping it over and cutting, and so it's just easier for me to cut out all the little blocks. So you do you. If you like to paper piece, be my guest and paper piece, because absolutely you could. So that was the only reason why. I just wanted to try something different and piecing it together, and that was probably because I knew I could make it into a paper piece, but I just wanted to reach inside me and make me work a little harder to come up with a pattern like you're using on for a dress or something like that. So there are a lot of patterns out there, but that was the reason why. Okay, good question. Any others? Oh, good. You guys are great today. How do you make your lines match up when piecing the quilt? Mine always mismatch, and they never come out as crisp as I would like them to. And that's a good question. I'm not always good at it, and I do a lot of unpicking to try and make them. Now, they matched up before I started quilting, but as I was picking and pulling, some of them kind of got off because of the stretch on the backing. And so I will just work with putting the seams. Now, a lot of quilters out there are now into opening up their seams and ironing them. And when you open up the seams, you don't have that direct marking to pushing it to one side or the other, so you can line it up quite as easy. And so my suggestion would be, don't open up the seams yet. And after you're done pinning and sewing, then open up as many seams as you can and start placing them down on your quilt. That should make it a little easier. I will always tend to put one seam one direction and one seam another direction. So as I'm piecing together, when I'm trying to line them up, I will pin. I always fold and mark the center. So on this piece right here, notice it's not totally perfect, but I got it better. I will fold it so I can find the center of it, and then I will make my lines match up. So I found the center on the nose, and so I will make my center folds match up as I'm pinning. That really helps me as well, is finding the center, even if it's a triangle as I'm going across the quilt. I will always fold and find the centers and pin them together and then start pinning from the center out. I'm a big proponent of pinning from the center out because it really helps you make your ends meet, and if you have a little extra that you need to pull and tweak to make it match up, that's a really good way to do it. And I'll show you some more as we're moving along. But I had one question I wanted to talk to you about that I thought was kind of important. Why I didn't use the channel locks to go across the quilt, and why I just stitched in the ditch. And the reason is because I knew the quilt was not going to roll straight. And with the channel locks, they will lock you in place as you're moving across the quilt. So if it's on at an angle, you're going to have a sewing line that's at an angle, and that's why I didn't use the channel locks on this. I wanted you to understand and know that they are great and wonderful, and I use them all the time, but not in this instance, because it would have, my sewing lines would have been not straight, and you would have really noticed that going down the quilt. Any other questions that we have? Okay, well, I'm really excited for February because we have a really fun project that we're going to present to you. And all three of us, Amanda, Madison, and I, are each working on our own, and we're going to get really emotional, okay? And we're working on emoji pillows. And we're very excited about this, so I really want you to join me next week for our first part 1 of our emoji pillows, and we're going to show you different ways to make emoji pillows. We needed something simple and easy and fun because we've got Spring Fling coming up and we're doing classes, and so we have a lot going on. So we thought it'd be fun to take a little break and just add a little lovable, adorable emoji to our lives. So join me next week for February, and we will jump in and show you several different ways, and we hope that you take these cute emojis and do what you can do, see what you can do with them, and have a lot of fun. Oh, and Tammy, she says she can't wait to see what we all come up with, and we're really excited too. We've already started creating, and Madison, she's so excited about her emoji. It turned out so stinking cute. And so join me next week, and we'll get very emotional. We'll see ya. Bye-bye.